Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the show and welcome to the new year. We're at episode 431. Today's January 7th, 2025. Holy crap. I can't believe it's 2025 already. But as it is, we move forward, and a great guest for today's show. He's a U20 World Champion. He's an NCAA All-American for the Cornell Big Red. It's Meyer Shapiro. Meyer, thanks for joining us today, man. How are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
I'm doing great. Excited to be chatting with you. I know you're kind of up on break, so you got a little bit of free time. Appreciate you being here. So I know you got into wrestling when you were young, but really I want to know, like, when you got hooked, right? Like, what was it? Was there a time or a moment or a place or a tournament when, you went from like just somebody who wrestled to being like, this is my identity, this is my passion, this is what I want to do in life? When did you get hooked on wrestling?
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. I had a moment pop right in my head right away. I remember I went to VAC, the dual tournament in Richmond, where it used to be at like the Speedway, and I lost to Dean Peterson, Will Guida, Curtis Phipps, all these guys. I got killed. I went like 3-7, and I remember like thinking I was like pretty good, and where I was from, like from Maryland. Like Maryland's not a crazy deep wrestling state, but I was just, almost shocked at how bad I did. And I kind of like was like, wow, like there's levels to this, and I need to, take a step in the right direction to get better. So I would say that's kind of when, my dad started to really, he was always like, excited about the wrestling stuff, but I think that's really when he realized like we got to take it up a notch with, who we're training with, and just, the approach of getting better.
How old were you at that time?
I would say I think I was 8 or 9 when I went to, I think I was 8, yeah, like 9 at VACs that year.
And you were like, so wait, were you having a bunch of success locally, and then you finally went out to like a bigger tournament with kids from more areas and didn't do so well?
Yeah. So I would always do pretty well. Like I won like TOC, like that tournament of champions. Like, anytime I wrestled kids my age, I would do well. And then I started wrestling these older kids from, New Jersey and PA. And, some of these kids I ended up training with in the future, but, at the time they were, just new faces. And then another name, I wrestled Steve-O at that same tournament. Going out there, I'm like, Dad, I watched this kid on YouTube. Like, what am I supposed to do? And I got pinned. And my dad was like upset, and he's just like, okay, like, I think we definitely expected something different, in the results, and, just in all, I think it was like, okay, we're not as good as we thought, and we got to kind of reassess on what we're doing next. Where we're practicing, and like, taking it from there.
So like at that point, and still you're 8 or 9, so it's not a big deal, but like clearly it's something that means a lot to you. Did you start changing either where you're practicing, who you're practicing with, how often you're competing, or where you're competing, or what changes maybe did you make?
Yeah, I would just say like traveling was I think a big part. I think in that next kind of those 5 years before high school, where it was, going to New Jersey, wrestling at Buxton, went to Young Guns a lot, and just finding people to train with. And of course I wrestled in my club at home, which was Warhawks, and there was a lot of good kids for me to practice with there. But, to get every feel, and, to kind of like expand, the goal was always to get better. That was like, what my dad always said. It's like, I really don't care if, you win everything. It's like, hey, we're just trying to get better. Like how much better can we get from the last time we competed? How many points can we score? And it was kind of, the emphasis of just, becoming like a technician, and just having, multiple attacks, being able to like never, be out of offense. So a big part of that was just, finding, who the best guys were at my age, and, just training with them. And it was funny, like growing up, I would always like find kids at tournaments and just want to wrestle with them, being like, hey, you want to wrestle live at this tournament? And they're like, no, man, like I have a match in like 10 minutes. Like, I don't want to wrestle live with you on this mat at this tournament for no reason, for nothing. But to me, I was like, yo, like I want to see how good I am. Like, I want to see if I can beat this kid, or if I can, take something from this kid. And it was always kind of the mindset of just like climbing that tower of like adding to the wardrobe, adding to the collection of wrestling, adding to, if I can hit this offense, if I can hit this technique in a match, or just continuing to, get better was really just the emphasis after, realizing the wrestling is super deep and that, the more that you can like understand, the more that you can process all this stuff, it's way, easier than just going out there and being like, I'm wrestling for my dad and I'm just a kid. Like you don't really have much thought other than that.
Yeah, that's crazy that you were trying to get kids to wrestle you live at tournaments. Like you go to tournaments to wrestle live, but you're trying to pick kids off on the side and get them to wrestle live with
Yeah.
you.
It was a bad habit. Like kids would be like weird about it. They're like, no, man, like I don't want to wrestle with you.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, okay. And then I would tell my dad, and my dad would be like, what do you mean they didn't want to wrestle with you? And I'm like, they don't really want to go live right before they're in the gold pool. Like my team was in like the tin pool. Like we're wrestling.
Okay.
And my dad's like, oh, you're not gonna, you only had one tough match. Go wrestle with the Buxton kid. You know him. Like go hand fight with him. And I'm like, all right. Hey, you want a hand fight? And the kid's like, nah, man, I'm gonna sit here and eat my peanut butter and jelly and mind my business. Like it was funny as a kid growing up.
Dude, peanut butter and jelly was my go-to at wrestling
At
tournaments.
tournaments,
Yeah, little through like high school. I loved it. Loved the peanut butter and jelly. But so you do the kid scene, and you went to SEM. I guess I don't know. Like, how did that decision come about? And at this point, I'm guessing you're thinking about college wrestling. And was that part of the decision to leave and go?
yeah.
How many years did you do at SEM, and when did you decide to do it?
So I went to like my whole high school kind of just career in high school was kind of weird. So I wrestled 2 years at a private school in Maryland called Bullis, and then COVID kind of messed that up, and it was tough. The program didn't rebound like it was before, and we kind of had to figure out a new plan. So I went to public school for like a month, my local public school in Maryland, and it just wasn't. It was just tough. Like I was dry. It was just getting going places to practice after school and just like with time. It was just a lot. It wasn't like I could just practice with the high school and get what I needed. And the idea of SEM kind of came up, and Blair too, but just the idea of like going somewhere else, like boarding school. And I was friends with Luke Lilwell at the time, and I knew Joe Seeley. I knew a lot of kids at SEM. I knew Gabe Arnold.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, like that would be a dream come true to basically go to like a forever dual team with my buddies and just like go to school with them. And then pretty fast, it got, tied down that I was going to go there. And then we had a really, really good team at SEM, like a really, really solid team with, Luke, me, Gabe Arnold, Joe Seeley, and Cooper Hilton. There's a lot of young, tough guys.
What did you like most about your time at SEM, and maybe what was the most challenging, whether it's wrestling wise or like life, kind of not on your own, but without your parents right there?
Yeah, it was definitely an adjustment at first. Like it's awesome, when you have free time as a kid, like you kind of don't know what to do with it. You have too much fun almost. But I think just the best part about it was just like I really felt, comfortable, with the people I was around, and like the school that I was at previous, wrestling really didn't matter, and like all the kids were on the wrestling team. Like we just, it wasn't as cohesive. And being at SEM, just like wrestling mattered there, and it was very exciting, and just it made me excited to wrestle, knowing that every day I came to the room and it was there's someone for me to battle with. Me and Joe Seeley used to wrestle all the time, and like that was awesome. I remember having wars with Gabe Arnold, and it's just like thinking about those memories of having school and then getting to wrestle with basically a dream team with partners was awesome in high school. And then thinking, the recruitment thing, at first it wasn't, I was super focused on. I wanted to commit late, and I wanted to, take my time with it. And it unraveled pretty fast, what I wanted to do with that. But when I was at SEM, it was very much just, I'm going to take this year to, do as best as I can. This is the first year where I'm kind of the guy on top. I was ranked high, and I was at a bigger weight, and just generally like had some confidence in myself. And I was excited to, display that as much as I think I had 30 matches for SEM that I was supposed to wrestle at Ironman. I was the one seed at Ironman. And then we had like a yoga day, and the yoga teacher had COVID, and I got exposed to COVID and I wasn't allowed to go to Ironman.
Oh God, I'm so
And
glad it's
then,
over.
it was ridiculous, all that stuff. And my backup at SEM, so since SEM is so deep, like they'll go to Beast, so the backups will go to Beast, and uh, I didn't get to go to Beast either. So I missed Ironman and I missed Beast because the backup also had COVID, so he didn't get to go to Ironman.
Jeez.
So I missed 2 big tournaments. I went to Powerade, wrestled for Powerade for SEM, national preps, some small tournaments here. But yeah, it wasn't. I didn't get to compete much for them, but just the general, just wrestling that year, I think I made a really big jump with just the idea of tackling like the college guys, like wrestling at RTCs and just being, we would travel and go to Lehigh and we would go to UPenn and just traveling to, to wrestle these, again, looking for the better guys to wrestle with. And I just think that year was a really good, developmental year for me where I lived on my own and I kind of got, a different taste of reality.
And I think I heard you say, I wanted to take my time and commit later, but it all unraveled pretty fast. Is that what you said? And if so, what do you mean?
Yeah. So I really didn't take any official visits at first. So I didn't really like the idea of an official visit. And at that time, you were only allowed to take 5.
Yeah.
So I really was like, I'm not going to make a consensus of just like who can parade me around the most, who can, tell me how good I am at wrestling. That's not really like what I was looking at. I was like, let me be able to do an unofficial, kind of be in the realm of like a guy every day. What is he doing every day? Like what's his day-to-day look like? And that's where the kind of, that's where the kind of it went down, was like doing camps and stuff and just visiting the school and just, kind of I really didn't care about the football games and stuff. You know what I mean? Like I'm not that kind of guy. And I remember I did an unofficial visit to Iowa, and it was the Iowa Purdue game, and they got me box tickets, like super nice tickets. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take a nap and I'm gonna wrestle later, so I'm good. Like they're like,
Skip
what?
the game.
We got you these super nice tickets, and I was like, yeah, like I think I'm supposed to wrestle with Daniel Dennis later. Like that sounds really hard, so I'm just gonna take a nap before practice. And they were like, oh okay, yeah, that's fine. And I took a nap, and I went to practice later that day. Like, and it was cool. Like it was a very different. It wasn't my priority to be like, oh, this school's going to give me this much money. Like they're going to do this for me. Like I was really just thinking like, what's their room look like? How do they coach? How are they communicating to the guys? Like how well do the coaches take care of, the guys? And I definitely felt different about how coaches took care of different guys, and felt, some other people, like I thought some other coaches would take really good care of me. Some people disagreed, but just the idea of like an official visit was really not something my dad even thought too. He was like, I'm not really too interested in, how much they can tell you, what you've been doing for the past 15 years, like how hard you've been working. That's great. But it's like, I want to, take you to the next level. And that's what kind of Cornell presented. It's like, hey, like you're really good, but you suck here, and, we'll make you better here. And then you got a good chance of being pretty good. And I was like, oh, so definitely kind of, again, getting humbled, or like, being reminded that it's like this sport is so deep, and that like I look forward to the, wrestling that unknown abyss, like almost adding to, what I don't know. It's all, I can go to a lot of colleges and work on, everything that I've been doing and continue to do that, or I can keep expanding and keep developing and not changing how I wrestle, but just, progressively getting better as, other guys get better.
Were you thinking? I mean, was Ivy League something you had in mind? No, you weren't thinking Ivy League at all. You were thinking, probably made your decision based around wrestling, right?
Yeah. So that was not like, Cornell was definitely like, how am I going to get into Cornell? Like, what am I going to do about that? And that took care of itself. And I was actually impressed. I think I did a pretty good job towards the end, locking in with school stuff. So I actually, this past season, I got academic All-American, which I was pretty, I don't even know how to feel about that. I'm pretty happy I got that, but, I don't know who's giving that to me. So, yeah. But it was, definitely not a first thought, definitely. And even Big Ten wasn't a first thought. I really never thought about wrestling in the Big Tens. Like I never really thought that seemed very appealing. Like, I think, like I definitely think the atmosphere and the exciting part is very cool, but just the wrestling, just so hard, so often, and like what we do is already just so tough on us. That's like maybe giving myself a great lead up to the national tournament and then displaying my talent. Like why do I need to display how gritty I am every other weekend to another guy who's super gritty? Like, and not saying that not every guy's tough like that, but it's really tough when wrestling Nebraska, Iowa, Penn State, and there's even sayings like that. Well, that's a Big Ten guy. Like that kind of is a staple. They're strong, great hand fighters. Like that just seems like a lot to take on just all at once, and just all the time. When what we're already doing is the most difficult thing.
Yeah. So talking college wrestling, which is folk style. You obviously have you're very well versed in freestyle, a lot of success. Age-old debate: do you have folk style or freestyle? Do you have a preference?
I tend to just like whatever I'm doing at the time. So like
Cop
folk
out.
style, like
I'm kidding.
I know, but I really this is my cop out. Like I really enjoy folk style because I feel like I get really good at folk style.
Yeah.
And as soon as it ends, I'm like, wow, like I was just figuring this out. Like, and it happens every time in freestyle. I'll start wrestling really well towards the end of freestyle season. I'm like, I got a system going. Like I want to go wrestle some really good guys. And it's like, no, you got to do folk style again. So now I'm restarting. So it's kind of just like, I would definitely say that I enjoy the gaming of freestyle and just that playing that, it's always one, you're never out of it. And of course in folk style, you're never out of it, but just the idea of like so much can change so fast in freestyle. And at the same time, it's a much more methodical, technical game, while college wrestling is just a grind and you got to be tough and you got to, take what you can get, but also, not leaving stuff on the bone. So just, getting back points, getting gritty takedowns, gritty ride outs, where in freestyle you can give out 4 push outs and then for the dude and win. Like you can be pretty, not to say scummy in freestyle, but you can play the game and be a little bit, mischievous in that sense.
And I want to pull up your world final, your U20 World Final, and watch it. But yeah, it's so funny how similar folk style and freestyle are, especially if you're not really deep into wrestling. But then when the super nerd wrestler like us, when you look deep into them, you're like, they are pretty different. Just the way you just described the two, like one's a little bit more finesse, the change can lead like the lead can change like that, and the more gaming, where and folk style is just like gritty, hard, tough.
Well, it's a lot of like, I feel like I talk about this like momentum in folk style, where you can just do a lot in the first period and not necessarily break the guy, but just really discourage him from trying, if that makes sense. And I'm not saying that the guy's giving up, but it's like if I go out there and I just put a hand fight on you for a minute and a half and then take you down in the first period and ride you out, that's going to be tough to come back from. Where in freestyle, it's like I've seen guys get absolutely flamed in the first period. Like, how much do you see a guy go down 14-0 in folk style and come back from that?
Never.
But in freestyle, I feel that's happened at least every tournament multiple times I've seen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of going down, this is your world final, U20 World Final. We'll pull it over here and start playing it. And you can just kind of commentate or watch or tell me what you're thinking. But I know like that kind of happens here, right? You go down.
It was kind of crazy. I've never felt an Iranian like slide by, so I thought that was pretty funny. And I was more just shocked about everything that was happening. This is really funny. I thought this might have been the grittiest trap arm defense I've probably ever had. I think I would have probably gotten teched if that was any other tournament, but that was pretty hard to defend. I was happy to only give up one and go out of bounds. Like I thought it was pretty much over right there.
What, you thought he was gonna roll it up and keep going?
Yeah, I thought it was done, dude. Like trap arm, and just I don't know, but I think that he had a panic or something. Like how can you not end that trap arm? Come on.
So you're happy to be down by only 4.
Yeah, that's a luxury at this point. I thought I was going to go down at least 8-0. I mean, he had trap arm from quad pod, so like luckily he didn't go transition and get 1 big move off of that. And it was funny. Like I think it's coming up right here. Right there. So I took him down kind of, and then I completely just jumped away from him, and then I split my head open.
I skipped the blood
So, yeah.
timeout because it's like 4 minutes of nothing.
Yeah,
You
I
cut your
cracked
head
my
pretty
head
good.
open.
Now you got a diaper on your head.
I know it was the worst tape job ever. I swear they just put like a handful of sand and super glue in my head. I swear they were literally just super glue. There's a ton of glue in my hair. It was disgusting.
They always talk about the Iranians and the underhooks. What'd you feel here?
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, the kid was definitely strong from here, and I think he's gonna get me really close to the edge. But I think just being able to slide off ties and kind of change directions there is really big, especially that we're kind of like, in this 50, not even 50-50. I think he has 2 unders. But being able to like change directions and be like shifty in the shoulders, like Zamalov is super good at that. Like I think that's why he does super well with the Iranians. He's super flexible shoulders. So I think it was, intimidating at first, but as the match went on, kind of, lessened up.
Do you feel yourself making any adjustments like as the match is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely a little more relaxed actually as the match went on. So I was definitely came out a little tense, and I think that's kind of why I got arm spun, because I was just squeezing him so hard. And I think as the match went on, I can start moving my hands and kind of just start like just wrestling like this. It was a lot easier for me to just like wrestle. It's hard when it's the World Finals and I had a close match earlier in the tournament, and just knowing I've had brackets where I've been in this with this kid before, that I was like, this kid definitely wants to beat me. So
Hey Josh, can you pull that back? I want to see that sequence one more time, because you kind of lunge at him, but you go over, and Josh, can you rewind that just a little bit? And he like gets to your leg. It looks like you overextended yourself in the position, because he gets in on that single, and then not here, but the next score.
yeah, so he tries to do like the grounded thing, which I think is kind of a silly rule, because he does it again and he gets away with it. But I think there should be some penalty if you just concede and go on your knees. I think it's kind of silly that you can do that, but he does that, and I try to like just push his shoulders, and I totally just slip off and don't push his shoulders, and then he gets in on a double.
Yeah, I was like, I was watching this, and I'm like, oh man, like, thought you were in good position. I'm like, crap, he just gave the guy his legs, but the way you hip into him, I thought was,
yeah,
awesome.
He was in a bad position to build up, so I think it was just kind of like take what I can get right now.
Yeah, here it comes. Yeah, that's what you're talking about. He
Completely
just drops.
slip over the shoulders.
Whoop.
That wasn't a very good attempt, but that worked.
That was awesome. Took a bad position and made it a good one.
Yeah.
Do we got more blood? No.
I
Eventually,
got more. I got my nice hairdo with a ball of tape.
Yeah.
Not even covering, just stuck in my hair with adhesive.
It's not touching any part of your body except your hair.
And the kid's taking a second time out.
What was this one for? His fingers in the eye?
I don't know. He didn't like. I was probably just slapping him in the face, but he was whining. My head was bleeding. Like you did this to me.
It's a hard club there.
Yeah, definitely was like just ripping hard collar ties on him. But also kind of like staying stagnant. Like I look back in this, and the way that I'm just kind of like laying my hands on him probably wasn't the most, progressive thing to do. But I mean, it is short time, but I think I do that a lot in this match, where I kind of lay soft hands, which I've, try to not do that. Shout out to the Iranian and the Chicago Bull Sox.
Is he wearing Chicago Bull socks?
Yeah.
You didn't notice that oh, you just grabbed that sock. That was nice. Nice pick. Does it, I know you're just going to go back to center and keep wrestling, but is there anything in your head that changes or relief or maybe more urgency? Like, I got the lead. Does that change anything for you, whether you want it to or not?
I think I just, I realized it's like, wow, like I can take this dude down pretty easily. Like, and that's kind of like why I think I started ripping off shots and stuff. But it was more of like, I kind of gave him, I think, too much respect in the beginning, and I should have just, start like, and that's kind of like what I try to do now, just go out there and just show this guy my best stuff. But it was just as soon as I got that easy takedown, I was like, okay, like, that was probably 2% of energy. Everything I've done earlier was way harder than that. So if I can just do that again, that would be great.
Smart. Where was this?
Amana, Jordan.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Now you're
He's
just
an awesome, lovely
all over.
place.
There's another. Yeah. Grounded.
See, I almost wanted to do it again, but I was just like, I just think that's got to be some level of stalling. I just think.
Yeah, I don't know what.
You should get put on the.
Yeah, they need to fix that because you Americans game it, foreigners game it. It's just like, I'll just drop to the knees here and let nothing happen.
Like, one of my favorite rules in freestyle is like if you hook the guy's leg when you're hip to hip, like that's not a takedown. Like, that's a great rule, and that's just like another freestyle rule. Like, that's not a good rule. Like, that's not promoting wrestling. Like, that leg hook position is, a very crafty, adds to the sport, while this is just like making guys look bad.
Yeah. Does not promote wrestling. That's great. Definitely doesn't.
I don't know what he was trying to do there. Hayden Henschel did like a technique review on that, and he was like, I don't know. I literally just think that he just tried to throw me by, and he just sucked it. Like, the first one worked great. That one, he just literally just fell on his face.
Now you got to be feeling good. You got your motor running. You scored 8 unanswered points, 90 seconds to go.
Definitely more confident, but I think at the same time, like, I think he gets a takedown right here where I just still need to be, I think I just snap him right into a nice double. I think I just too relaxed almost. Too relaxed in the sense I shouldn't have, been not even relaxed. I should have just kept, wrestled the box, put a hand on the mat, worked him towards the edge, kind of the same thing. But this kid, I was pretty impressed that he got actually a late takedown on me because I thought he was done. I thought he was pretty much, exhausted. Yeah. But he actually, stayed in the fight for pretty long.
And really, especially considering you had to come back, but then once you got the lead, you're still like pressing forward, controlling center, doing quite a bit of attacking.
Yeah, I definitely was thinking like I would hate to lose this in the last second because of something crazy. So just like continuing to score points and just, looking for that next score.
Almost snapped right back into you.
Yeah, again, the kid actually had a pretty good feel for releasing and just kind of dropping his hands.
Well, that's just one more let's just ice it. Look at that.
Yeah, literally. I remember Mike Bear was telling me, he goes, if you're not going to turn them, just go down there and do a leg lace because you'll waste so much time. They give you so much time if you go for the leg lace. And I remember being on top. I'm like, there's 14 seconds left. They're not going to let this go for. Oh, they did. And that was pretty. That was funny. I remember that immediately. And I remember looking right at he was sitting up there. The heavyweight for Iran.
Zare
was sitting right there, like
or the U20 heavyweight.
The young, yeah. Moose or something, whatever his name is.
Okay.
I can't remember his name, but he was sitting right up there, and I remember him staring at me and looking super angry. And I've I've seen him before, like at Cadet Worlds, and I think he was at the World Cup, but it was just funny that I was the first person I saw after I won the Iranian heavyweight.
Huge win. And transitive property. Tell me about your transitive property here.
So this does give me transitive property over the Olympic champion, Jamalov. So that's, where we'll take this. So Ali Reza beat Taran Bayramov at a ranking tournament. Maybe it was the Dogu, maybe Yasar Dogu. And then Turan Bayramov beat Frank Chamizo. We all saw at the at what was that Azerbaijan ranking series, and then Chimizo has a win over Jamalov, and he's got a couple great wins. So there's a couple big couple big feats that I found through beating that kid.
Well, and everyone knows transitive property is as rock solid as it gets. If you beat somebody
Yeah, I mean,
who beats somebody who beats somebody who beats somebody who beats somebody, you own a win over them, right?
it's pretty close. It definitely gives you confidence when you wrestle them. So I know, looking forward in an international career that I can look forward to wrestling these veterans, with some previous knowledge.
Yeah. All right, I want to transition back to college wrestling, or maybe this applies to both. But your injuries, right? And you've had some. You wear a freaking helmet. You've had some concussions. When was the first time you had a concussion, and maybe when was the worst?
Well, I don't know when the first time I've hit my head is, and I don't know if that goes with hitting my head, but I would say the first, bad one.
Yeah.
At nationals, I think, a lot happened. I think I hit my head really hard, and it kind of like just, really shocked me how hard I hit my head. And like if you like go back to that one, my mouthpiece flies out of my mouth, and a lot of it was just like, maybe in the moment, if you gave me a couple minutes, I probably could have kept wrestling, but it was just like I was so like out of it. And our trainer came over and was like, "Hey, do you want to get out of here?" And I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like a great idea." And then once I got out of the arena, I was like, "Did I just forfeit my match?" Like, I had no idea what was really going on. And that would, I would say, like, it was the most like in the moment, like, "Oh, what just happened?" Like really just like blank mind. And they did the, concussion protocol. And I honestly, think that I would have been better off not doing that. And looking back at, that whole event. But with all the concussions in general, a lot of them stem from which was just, me trying to do a throw or me back arching or trying to send something backwards and just basically bonking myself on my head. So it happened, a couple times, even in that tournament, and even, at this past journeyman, it happened again. So, the goal was to stay away from that position, not to be in bad positions where I can get thrown on my head. So that's kind of the goal for the rest of the season. But that I would say definitely at nationals was the head injury that I was like, that one actually kind of like shook me at first. I really was like stunned by that. Like saw greens and blues, was just kind of out of it, and then dialed back in like a couple seconds later, like, oh, we're wrestling. And then, went to the back room, sat there, got checked out, walked all the way back to the arena, walked all the way through everyone else wrestling. I don't even remember who was, but weaving in between mats like a junior league tournament to get to my mat to get ready to wrestle the last half of my match. And I kind of remember being like this weird feeling of like urgency, which I didn't need to have. I could have just, taken my time, got off bottom. Like I was winning, I didn't need to spaz out or be worried or anything. And I tended to, wrestle as if I was losing the rest of that match and resulted in me losing. So not the best. I would say that was definitely the most, memorable head injury, if that's not whatever the opposite thing is.
Well, it's a tricky situation because you bang your head, whoever, right? Like somebody bangs their head, and you're like, that hurt, but the instinct is keep going. We're wrestling. The reality is, I might be fine, but the reality is, I might not be, right? And how much damage could be done if I keep going versus should I get checked out? And where there's a really gray line there somewhere in the middle. So, it's probably, even though you said maybe you should have stayed on the mat, maybe it was best to go get checked out. It's hard to say. But was that against Cardenas?
Yeah, so that was the first. So that match was going all right. I got a first period takedown super late. Like I think I took him down in the first period with like 8 seconds left. I went single leg and I limp armed and like scramble, caught a takedown. And I picked bottom the next period and he put a piss ride on me and was doing a great job. And I was about to get out. I was halfway through the period. I was about to get out. And I reached back from like this, I would say rear standing position. And I was in like this over and under, but my arm was trapped And I was kind of falling over towards like an inside trip, and we were right on the edge. And I'm thinking, okay, if I can, throw myself out of bounds, that would be smart, get a fresh start. Or I can try to inside trip him and get a takedown, or I'm going to get crunched to my back. So those are the three kind of options I'm thinking about right now. And obviously, I don't want to get crunched to my back. I don't like those odds. Daniel Cardenas is strong. He's shorter than me. Like, definitely a good position to put someone on their back. So I'm thinking, I'm going to send this. I'm just going to throw him as hard as I can. And he just doubled down, and I went straight into the ground. And, like, all of his weight. I remember this you can't even really see it, but this, like, scar right here is from that. Because his, like, shoulder and everything came right down on my face. And it was just a lot of instead of like bonking heads or clipping someone's head, it was like he threw his whole body on top of my head. And that's why I think I was just so out of it and just like so like discombobulated.
Really interesting that sequence you just described. You're like, we're on the edge, and this is all like that. You're like, I thought about this option, and this. I throw him, go out of bounds, inside trip, and then he's too like. Are you thinking all these things real quick, or is this kind of like reflecting on it, realizing that's what you thought? I'm trying to get into how people's brains work during a match.
Yeah, I would say definitely in the moment. Like, there's times where I'm thinking about wrestling and it's not helping me, and there's times where I'm thinking about wrestling and it's it's a positive thing. But I also think there's a state of wrestling where I'm just computing as I'm wrestling, almost like like you're just kind of flowing, but I'm making notice of what decisions I'm making. So I think it was less of a this, and that. I think it was like I thought about inside tripping, and I'm like, oh, he's got me locked up. Like, there's no other option other than to go back right now. And I think it's more of just like, cross out, if it was a multiple choice answer, cross this answer out, cross this answer out, and all of the above, I guess, and just send it.
Yeah. And so that's NCAAs. That's an emotional round. You win in the quarters. You're guaranteed All-American. You're one match from being in the finals. It's like, but if you lose in the quarters, it's like, okay, well, the dream of winning's gone, and now I'm on the backside, and I'm down, or I'm you got to deal with the disappointment, but shake it off, and I still got to, explain to me maybe emotionally getting yourself back to go, and that would, I guess you still had to wrestle again. This would have been Friday, if I remember. So you had to wrestle, like, explain to me losing and how you got yourself back, and you strung together probably 3 or 4 more wins.
Yeah, so I think the round was over that. Like, I didn't wrestle immediately after that. So we go back to the hotel, and I remember wanting to see my mom and dad, and my mom comes, gives me a hug, and she's all upset. Dream got crushed a little bit. Head injury, a lot's going on. And I'm in my teammate's room, and I give my mom a hug. I'm like, "Where's my dad?" And my dad comes in, and like the first thing that he said to me was like, "Oh yeah, you're done, right? Like, you're forfeiting out." And I'm like, "Oh, I appreciate you seeing how I am." And he's like, he was just so worried about my head. And this is not the first time I've hit my head. And he's always, the number one concern is health. He doesn't care about the wrestling. And yeah, and it was just tough, hearing someone tell me that, like, who I love so much, basically to just fold all my cards. And it was just a lot at the moment. It's like, I really can't, Dad. Like, this means a lot more than me just to, to All-American. It takes one match to All-American. So then I kind of had this, back and forth discussion with my family of like, I'm going to wrestle. And they're like, well, if you're going to wrestle, you got to wrestle. And I'm like, well, obviously, like, I'm not going to just go out there and, throw it out the, window. And, I also talked to, one of my high school coaches, and he said basically the same thing. And, he was always one of the guys to be like extra, like, if you're hurt, just wrestle. And he was like, you know what, Meyer, like, I really want you to know that, like, I don't even feel comfortable with you wrestling, but if you're telling me that you're okay and you're going to get the job done, I'll trust you. And I remember going into that, blood round match, and I didn't even think it was a blood round match. Like, I warm up, and I remember just being so angry that I didn't win against Cardenas. Like, I just remember being so like, no way this is how the year is going to end. Like, I don't win. Like I was like, almost delusional before the tournament that I was gonna win. I was
Sure.
roommates with Vito. Like I was like, I'm gonna win this tournament with Vito. Like that was the plan.
Yeah.
And like even when I went back to my hotel room, I told Vito that I lost, and he was like, "Oh yeah, what happened? I lost." And he was like, "Oh, you lost? Oh, like you weren't joking? Okay, sorry. Roll over, take a
Whoops.
nap. Like
Yeah.
yeah, but we were on the backside, and I remember literally like winning my All-American match, and like obviously being excited, but not being excited that I All-American, but just being excited that I like wrestled well. Like not even like I think I would have been more mad if I just wrestled bad, and I
Yeah.
would have probably not have been as happy. Like I was just happy that I wrestled a really tough match, and it was right after something bad happened. So I think I was just very excited to feel it's like like it's on, like we're going all the way, and you know, maybe if that didn't go well, I would have forfeited. I don't know. But, like obviously if I would have won and didn't feel as good, maybe that would have changed it. But during that time, even in that match, that blood round match is an awesome match. That's actually probably one of the craziest matches. I wrestled Johnny Lovett from Central Michigan. It was Coach Borelli's last college match
Oh no way.
as head coach of Central Michigan. Dude, I'll say this now. I had a feeling they just wanted Central Michigan to be All-American so bad. I go out. By the way, Johnny Lovett is the strongest person I've ever wrestled. He comes out, boom, boom, underhooks, literally tosses me up in the air. And I'm just like, oh, I'm turning around in the air behind me. Okay, I'm rear standing, no takedown yet. How do I get out of this? I hit some crazy switch, go out of bounds, perfect. That happened 3 times. I got out of 2 of them where he just would jack me up with underhooks and like throw me into the air. And I would literally just end up in rear stand. Like he would just throw me around. And the 3rd time he actually got the takedown. But I just remember like this crazy match. And it's a really awesome match because he's very close to scoring on me a lot of times. But I seem to do literally the silliest. Like I literally think I go like leg knee bar switch to get a stalemate so he didn't take me down. Like something crazy.
Uh-huh.
And towards the end of the match, I'm riding him and he starts like headbutting me from like reverse, like from bottom. And I remember getting super mad. And like I definitely ride chippy on top where I'm chopping you hard cross facing, but like I'm not hitting anything illegal.
Yeah.
And he starts headbutting me from reverse. And then the match ends. And Coach Borelli is like in my face telling me I'm a dirty wrestler and like I didn't deserve the win. And I'm like, dude, I should have gotten the tech fall. They didn't give me backs because you're trying to All-American a guy. Like, you should be more happy that I didn't tech fall the guy. Like, they missed points. It was just such a funny, like, match, like, interaction. Because, like, in the first period, I think I go, like, feet to back, 2 swipes, and then, like, another set of swipes. And the ref is counting 2. Literally looks at Mike Gray, just turns around and starts looking at Mike Gray. I turn him again. He's still looking at Mike Gray. They give me 2. They wave off the 2. And they don't give me any back points when I thought I should have had a 4 count or something crazy. It was just like they called, and they were like, long ordeal, and then they just wiped it, like no points. I was like, what?
Wow.
Like, how do you do that? That's crazy.
So a very dramatic quarterfinal, dramatic blood round, and then what?
Yeah.
Then you maybe you wrestled one more that night and you won. Then you win.
Yeah, I wrestled Jared Franick
Okay.
later that night.
Yeah.
I remember I was actually really upset that I had not upset, but I was like, dang, I got another match tonight. And it was a long emotional day, just like from Dreams Getting Trust to, All-American, which is, to some people that's just, everything they've ever wanted. Like for me to like almost be like, you know what, Meyer, just be grateful that you got to this point. And going into this match with Franick, I remember like warming up and him just looking so mad and just like looking like he just like it was a long day. And I like remember Mike like being loose, and I just like very excited for some reason. Like at first I was like, this is a bad thing. And then like towards the end of it, I just kind of embraced it. And again, just wrestled very like high flying, like very excited, just putting multiple attacks together, but wrestling not to like win almost, just wrestling to literally just show everyone that I could have won the tournament almost. Like, it sounds like that kind of sounds stupid, but I wasn't really focused on beating Jared Frantic. I was just like, I'm gonna go get a take, like the coolest takedown I can. I'm gonna go out there and just, wrestle as hard as I can. And if I lose and I get tired, that so be it. But like, I'm gonna go out there and try to display my best stuff and show everybody. And then, it ended up, working better than wrestling, conservative or being tight or
Trying to win.
Having more of a, worrying about the outcome of the match, which is, can be very detrimental.
Yeah, and that's what you hear the best people say that all the time, right? Just trying to score points and trying to get the next point, trying to enjoy the moment. So sounds like that's what you're able to do, and then you come back and you win on Saturday morning. Now you got Cardenas for third, the guy that ended your dream. Kind of what's the and we're gonna pull that. It's just like maybe a minute and a half. It's the highlights from that match,
Yeah.
but what's your mentality as you're coming back to wrestle this guy for third place? And he beat you twice. I think he beat you at Vegas or something like that earlier in the year.
Yeah, you beat me at Vegas. That was my first loss too of the season, and that was a tough loss. But I remember at Nationals coming off the mat against Andonian and being like, "Oh, I got a pin. Like, I'm gonna feel fresh for this next round." Like, he definitely had a war, and I'm pretty sure Cardenas pinned whoever he had. I think it was Peyton Keller on the other side, and I was like, okay, still wrestling pretty good, and he pinned him way faster than I pinned my guy. Like, he pinned him in like literally, it was like 32 seconds or something crazy. And I was like, well, all the emotions from that match was like, oh, I have to wrestle again. Oh, I got to wrestle him again. Kind of reset. Almost, I lay down for probably 30 minutes, feet against the wall, like literally covered my eyes, just like barely fell asleep. Soon as my alarm popped off, threw the headphones on, dialed in again, and just kind of like reminding myself, it's like, you have really nothing to lose, dude. Like, you thought you were more delusional about winning the tournament than All-American, so you just go out there and just like wrestle. And it was kind of also the approach of just getting takedowns. Like, I don't need to ride you out. I just think it's really hard, sometimes if you're not, necessarily game planning the ride, or you can waste a lot of energy just trying to hold the dude down. So I just went out there. I'm like, I'm gonna get a takedown. I'm gonna cut him, and I'm gonna try to get another takedown. And that plan ended up, I would say, being better than not doing that. Trying to get a takedown, riding him super hard, and then he gets out, and now I'm exhausted. But kind of just the emotions of like going from, oh, awesome, I'm going for third. Oh, dang, I got the kid I lost to who just crushed my dreams, and he's still wrestling good. And I got to wrestle in like 30 minutes. So it was just a lot at once.
Yeah. All right, Josh, can we cue that video up and pull it onto the screen here? But same thing as the other ones. This is shorter, but you can just kind of walk us through what you're thinking or anything you want to say about this.
Yeah, so he actually had a really nice snap down right here, and he wanted to go, and I thought I pulled that takedown pretty silly takedown. I thought I was in a really bad position, and I think he kind of like overextended himself. Then we get into kind of, a scramble in here. And right here, I'm actually pretty relaxed because earlier in the season, I had a really tough match against Max Brignola of Lehigh, and I did a terrible job scrambling, almost just horrendous. Just trying to hold on to ankles and stuff. And then I remember being super confident there, like just relaxed and like almost, sure that I was going to get that second like scrambly takedown. And then here I was just, end of period, trying to, inflict something in a short time.
Oh, nice. That's great. And this is.
And I started hitting. I hit that shot a lot in that tournament.
What does this feel like? Now, season's over, right? Your dreams are crushed.
Yeah, it was
4 in a row, I think.
It was emotional, from going to, I'm going to be the guy to win, losing, and then getting it done on the backside. It was just like, without the people that were in my corner and the support system, that wouldn't have happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not even to say that I wouldn't have been delusional to the point where I've wanted to win. I think that's like, my own thing. But I just think the idea of coming back and the way, like, just wrestling very, well. Like, it was the best I wrestled all year on the backside was right there. And I just think there was a lot of, things attached to the idea of me winning that national title. And I think that it restricted me from, wrestling how I really wanted to wrestle. I think that it made me wrestle conservative, not even conservative, but just didn't let me display what I've been trying to display my entire life. So it was, a great relief almost that I got it done. But at the same time, I remember like watching the awards or watching Levi and Jacory wrestle and just being like, all two of those guys who made the finals. But I remember just being so like mad watching this finals. I was like, this is such a boring match. And like, it wasn't supposed to happen that way. You know what I mean? Like, and I felt like I messed it up. Like, it was supposed to be me in the finals, and me watching the finals, like, it felt wrong. And it was just, just like a very bittersweet experience. Like, wow, I did something really hard. At the same time, I didn't do the thing that I, promised myself I was going to do.
Sure. What did, after you win third, next time you see your dad, because he said you're done, right? After the quarterfinals, he's like, you're not wrestling, right?
He just wasn't thrilled on the idea of wrestling. Dude, he was but not shocked, but like he knew I could have. Like, I did. Like, when he did it, he just gave me a big hug and was just, he was crying a little bit, and he was just like, I'm so proud of you. Like, and I just think that like almost him trusting me was really big, and just letting him know like, hey, like, I have to do this for me. This is more than just in 20 years from now, if I look back and I forfeited in the blood round of the national tournament, that would eat me up. And I remember Yanni saying that to me, like. And that's another thing. It's like, being in the footsteps of Kyle and Yanni, and basically being told that you could be a four-timer, like you're going to be the third guy to do it. You're this guy. And it's like getting that dream stolen, just like, and obviously you can tell, don't worry about that. Just wrestle. Like, everyone has their, their whatever. But it was just, really devastating to think that's like, I could have done something great. I was told I could be this guy, and I let people down over this. But at the same time, it's like, my dad didn't care about that. He was just like, you did something, as a man, and you did something, on your own quest almost. Like, that's not your storyline, that's not your, that's not a part of the narrative, that's not a part of like our game plan, our story. So obviously I want to win, but I take what I can get and, be happy with that.
Yeah. What, I don't know, either how will you approach NCAAs this year differently, or what did you learn from last year, or along those lines?
Yeah, just, I think I can just sum it up in almost one thing, is just keep climbing. Never really, being satisfied with what, result I'm having. I have practice today, and I'm excited to go score points at practice, and winning that next battle, that next 15 seconds is, I think, is, just the mindset that I'm going to go having into that tournament. Everything goes well and I stay healthy and I'm wrestling smart, and I keep, like I said, climbing, building. And it sounds so cliche and just like those simple words, but it's like the only thing I can do from here now is to, keep being excited about wrestling and keep trying to score. And when I go to that national tournament, just when I shake hands, no matter what my seed is or what I'm projected to do, getting that first takedown and just going out there and displaying that talent, displaying that wrestling. I not that I pride myself on how I wrestle, but I'm very, I like how I wrestle. You know what I mean? I get very upset when I don't wrestle how I know I can wrestle. So when I, hold myself back, it's very, infuriating when you can just, why don't I just do this? It's like I'm coaching myself halfway through the match. And it's just, that endless battle of, trying to get better and just progressing, like I keep saying these words of that just mean, to grow, but it's literally just that, just continuing to build. And when March comes around, it's, you can shy away from it. You can try to hold on, or you can continue to climb. And, my goal is to continue to climb.
Yeah. Well, you are very dynamic and exciting wrestler to watch. And when you do, like you said, put your foot on the gas, it's like a thing of beauty, and it's fun to watch. So I'm excited to watch the rest of this year. Just got a couple more really small things, questions, games, whatever you want to play. First one, just Meyer Shapiro. Who's your all-time favorite wrestler?
Adam Satiev.
How'd you get turned on to him, and why do you like him?
I think. Well, it's funny. So Murad, I can't say his last name. So he wrestles at Rutgers. He's a two-time world champion, wrestles for Poland. He's from Dagestan, and he's an older guy. He's like 40 something. And I remember him like talking to me. He's like, "Oh, you wrestle like Satiev. Like, I really like how you feel. Use your legs well." And but he said Adam, and I thought that was super, interesting. And then I started watching it. I just think that, you know, I can replicate some of those things. Like obviously, I'm never gonna, that's never say never. I'm gonna try to do my best to, be as good as him. But just, that style, using all aspects of wrestling, hands, feet, and just being crafty and almost, not thinking of wrestling as a back and forward thing, and just there's so many different paths to score. And I just thought it was funny that an old Dagestan dude said that. So I feel like that's credible. I feel like that's credible.
No, that's fantastic. And yeah, I thought it was awesome too, or interesting that you said Adam, because when anybody says Satiev, right, they're boy sar. So Adam Satiev, favorite all-time wrestler. I was actually at a tournament where he got crazy match and a riot started. It was like 2012 Russian Nationals, I think. It was some wild stuff. Maybe they rigged it for him, or he might have been wrestling Godoyev. I forget who he was wrestling, but it got crazy.
Wrestling politics.
Yeah,
everyone stormed the mat.
Yes, the riot gear, the cops were. It was wild. I was glad to be kind of high up in the stands. And then just the last thing, we like to do a little game. It's called Wins and Whoopins. So this is like we're thinking over back of your entire career. Like think of one win that stands out. It could be Little League. It can be high school. It can be coming back and beating Cardenas for third. It can be World. It can be anything. Just a win that sticks out as memorable for whatever reason to you. And then the opposite, not just a loss that stands out, but just like everybody's had their ass whooped at least once, probably multiple times. What's one beatdown that you took that sticks with you and you'll never forget? You can do either one first.
All right. I got to think. I don't have multiple, but a lot come to mind. I think for losses, I would have to say Vince Cornell, my teammate, definitely. That's a good one, seeing someone, who beat you at Super 32 in the 5th grade is tough. I went hard underhook to knee pick, and, he went little hip whizzer, and he stacked me up in the cradle and pinned me. And I was pretty embarrassed. But I would say my most notable win was beating my teammate Simon Ruiz in the finals of Super 32 my 8th grade year. So we got two, notable wins and losses of teammates. But the one that teammate, Simon's awesome. Grew up wrestling Simon a long time, but I had a really hard time with it sounds so stupid, but just taking the moment and winning the moment. And my dad would just basically tease me over that. Be like, yo, are you going to be an almost again? Are you going to do really, because I would do really good. And then I would just self-sabotage or something crazy would happen. And, and not to say that still doesn't happen, but I just remember him saying that. And I remember being so angry and just going out there and wrestling Simon and being like, I hate my dad. I hate myself. I hate my coaches. They're all so mean to me. And then I won, and I was like, oh, that felt really good. That was much easier to do than to not win. I don't know. It felt way better to win than to lose. So I was like, yeah, let's continue to do this. So that was both teammates at Super 32 are my favorites.
And taking us back to pre-high school, 5th grade and 8th grade. So it's always interesting to hear how these, what things kind of stick in somebody's mind. And those were obviously two ones that stuck in yours. And that's really taking us down the line. I think it feels like we just started. I think we've been going almost an hour. I really thought the NCAA Championships, the conversation with your parents afterwards, that whole dramatic run back to 3rd place, really, really cool stuff. And I really appreciate you sharing those stories. And, appreciate you taking some time out of your day and chatting with us today. Meyer.
Yeah, it was awesome. I really appreciate you guys having me on. I mean, what's a better opportunity than FloWrestling?
There you go. I appreciate it, man. All right. Well, best of luck the rest of the year. We'll be keeping an eye out for you from now through March and, well, beyond, because I know you got bigger goals. So thanks for joining us, man. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, thanks. Take care.